Hey there, I'm Wyatt Pike, and you're watching The Permanent Rain Press.
Hey everyone, it's Chloe with the Permanent Rain Press, and today I am so happy to be joined by Wyatt Pike. How are you?
I'm good, Chloe. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited about this.
I'm happy to have you take some of your time. I know you've been really busy with rehearsals and whatnot, but I wanted to start off by talking about your background and your roots. I know music really took hold for you in fifth grade, but prior to that, what was that initial spark that got you interested in picking up a guitar and playing music?
Right. Yeah, I mean it's almost tricky to explain because I don't remember it, in that my parents have told me that when I was little, we were living in Beverly, Massachusetts, and there was a guy at the bagel shop that brought out his rug and his guitar, and he had a dog named Smokey, and he played songs at the bagel shop. And I guess I would stand there just in awe of this guy. Um, and I would pretend that I was him, and this is my dog Smokey, or whatever that is. That doesn't matter. But I've been in love with it forever, and so my parents have just told me that, like, when I was little, I was always tapping my foot and always looking at these musicians like they're superheroes. And then I remember falling in love with music, kind of through those after school music programs. I did musical theater actually for a while, starting at 4 or 5 years old, and I loved that. I learned a lot of great things from that, but eventually kind of wanted to focus more on the music side of musical theater, and not necessarily that style, but I liked the music part, and so kind of wandered out of musical theater, started joining these after school rock bands, very similar to School Rock, that movie with Jack Black, um, minus the substitute teacher part. That would be really fun though. But I started doing all kinds of after school music programs, and I was singing, or I was playing bass or guitar and piano, and um, just loved it. I think doing theater, I always loved being on stage and sharing something with a group of people, and I got to do that through music too. And I think I just found myself having even more fun through music. So
I'm kind of disappointed that at the end of the story, there's not like you didn't get a dog named Smokey to to kind of
yeah, I need to work on that. I'm a little all over the place right now, but maybe someday I'll get a dog and name it Smokey. So
yeah.
that would be really cute, actually. I like that.
Let's talk about your American Idol audition song because it was an original written for your sister Hazel called Best for You. Tell me about the story behind it.
Totally. So that song, it came out March. I'm gonna butcher my own dates here. It came out in March of 2020, sometime in that month. I think it was the 20th. Regardless, that came out in March. I actually had written that maybe a year, a little bit more, before. It all kind of blurs together these days. But that's a song that my senior year, I was stressed, college apps, and the senior year of high school stuff that happens, and just some anxiety kind of took over my life for a bit, and it was brutal, as it is, for anyone going through those things. It's really tricky, and my sister had dealt with some of that. I don't want to share too much of her struggles and victories, but um, she had dealt with some similar things in the past, and so I that it was a little bit of a bonding thing for us. We've always been close and fight a little bit like siblings do, but definitely always have been very close. But I think that brought us even closer in that, like, hey, this thing sucks. The stress and the anxiety or whatever it is, having someone else that has experienced that, especially someone like your sister or your parents or whoever it is. In my case, my sister, it was definitely a thing that pulled us together. And so I think that's a song. I'm kind of rambling here. I'm going to ramble a lot today, but that's a song saying, wow, this sucks. And I know that you've gone through this, and maybe I didn't get it, but now I do. And I want the best for you too. So um, that's that tune, at least for me. But people can take it any way they want. If it's a love song, or if it's a whatever it is song to anyone else, I love that. I think it's fun to write something that people can paint their own meaning into.
I can just imagine how special of a moment it must have been, though, for your family and you to kind of see that audition for the first time on TV.
it was really fun. So I don't live with my parents anymore. I live like 30 minutes away from them back home. They live in Park City where I grew up. I live down the hill in Salt Lake now. Um, but I'd go up to their house for Idol because it's fun to watch it with them. We used to watch it when I was little. Um, and so having that, well, no, I guess I might be butchering this because I was actually here by the time that my audition aired. So I was watching it with them, and we had before I got to LA. I was watching it with them a whole bunch, and they do a bunch of episodes of auditions that are pre-taped. We did that back in November, um, and so I was watching that with them, and like, oh yeah, I met them in Ojai, and oh yeah, I know them from Hollywood Week, and whatever it is. Um, but then I was actually out here by the time that my audition aired, so kind of fun in that I got to watch it with some people here. COVID safe, all that. We kept our distance and we're all being tested, but it was really fun to watch it with my family and build up the hype. But then also a little tricky to, oh, here I am in LA and you guys are watching at home and I'm watching it an hour ahead and we're kind of missing each other. But I FaceTime them, Zoom call them pretty much every time that I'm on the TV afterwards, and we chat and talk about how ridiculous it is. So
I'm sure they must be so proud. And, just last week you released a new single, Diana. It's a really fun one about security and independence. And you would have worked on this one this over the past year. So during the pandemic, what was that creative process like for you?
yeah, I like that you say security and independence. That's cool. I guess I haven't done something like this where someone's looked into me and my music and that kind of thing and made their own educated claims about it. So I love hearing it. So thank you. But yeah, I did that record last year. I was recording it in February. That was right when COVID started hitting the news, and Greg Downs, the guy that produced my record and this new song too, we were talking like, wow, this is crazy, but I feel like we're gonna get through it. Like it's not gonna be a big deal, as everyone felt. And then now here we are, and it's a huge deal. But so right as I was releasing that, COVID took over Utah, and so I kind of jumped into this. I'm gonna play shows for my record and sell merch and CDs and whatever it is, right as COVID started. So I wasn't able to do any of that, and so it was interesting because it's something that I've been looking forward to forever, is releasing music, and this was like back when I was doing it for the first time, and then it's right at the start of this COVID thing. So I can't really have all the experiences from that are just so amazing and beautiful. But I guess after that, I was writing a lot. I did a summer semester of school online out at Berklee College of Music in Boston. I guess that's some backstory there. But did a semester online. I was writing a ton. Moved out in September. Kept writing, and I can't remember exactly when Diana came around, but it was, I want to say August or so. I could probably look at the old demos of it on my phone and figure out, but August, maybe July, August, and then I just kept kind of rolling it over. There's like 18 versions of it on my phone, and it's like it sounds like this or it sounds like this, like completely different vibes and things. I mean, same song but different vibes. Um, and so that's one that I sat with for a while, and I really liked it, and felt like the writing was cool and exciting, and I liked what I had done, and I think that's like part of the process. If other people like it, great, but I was a fan of it. I think that's the first step. But going into this past recording process that I did, which was end of February this year, yeah, end of February this year, I went back to the studio, Pale Horse Sound in Salt Lake, and my plan was to do 4 songs, and so we actually recorded 4 full drums, bass, guitar, vocals. They're done. They're not all mixed and mastered, but I think maybe the night before my first session, I had 3 of the songs down as far as which ones I'm going to do, because I've got a big list of songs that I'm working on and feeling like I could record. and I called up my buddy Nick. If he sees this, he's gonna be so stoked that his name is in it. Hi, Nick. We love you. I called him up. He's a guy that I always bounce things off of as far as like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And he's got some good feedback for me, being a musician and also just a great listener. And so he's like, well, what about Diana? I think that's the one. Like you sent that to me so much and it's great or whatever he said. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. Screw it. Yeah, I'll record that. And it had kind of been simmering and kind of on the back of the stove as songs go. And then I was like, no, I really like this one. Okay, I'm gonna edit some lyrics and change some things up. And then we went in. Greg and I work really well together. He's the engineer and wizard of the studio. We work really well together in that like he just lets me try things. Like he doesn't expect me to come in and be nails on my bass parts and things because I have no idea what I'm gonna do until I show up. Maybe I could figure it out, but I find that I figure it out better in that setting. And so we just kind of created it. And I'd say like I'm playing all the parts except for drums on that. My friend Joe Dinger played drums. They're an amazing drummer. Just fantastic. I've played with them a bit in the past. So Joe came in and did drums. Greg was recording. I played guitars and things, and it kind of just created itself. I think musicians talk a lot about like, oh, the studio and this happens in the studio, and it sounds ridiculous. You're like, okay, we get it. But yeah, it is a little bit true in that like you go in and it's maybe the air is a little thicker or the like you feel your feet on the floor. And at least for me, I feel like I'm in my place when I go there, to record, especially at Pale Horse, because that feels a little bit like home. I know Greg really well. And so we made it, and it was really fun. So I had an acoustic version of it. This is another case of me rambling. I've been talking for like 20 minutes on this question, but
Maybe just like
um,
5 minutes.
yeah, quite a while. But I had an acoustic version going into the studio, and then we kind of created all of it, and the rest is history.
Well, I like that you have a really good team behind you. You mentioned 4 songs. Do you think this would be like a sophomore EP?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. It's tricky because I feel like every time I record something, I'm really stoked on it, and then I'm so excited and inspired that I like go back to the notebook or back to the whatever it is, and then I'm writing like crazy, and then I feel like that's just another level. And I think it's always just trying to one up yourself, right? At least that's kind of the way I think about this progression and diving into music. And so I don't know, like I've got some new ones that I'm really excited about, and we'll see what I do with the other three. I'm really stoked on those songs, but like I might take them to some other producer friends of mine and see what we do with them and that kind of thing. I don't have any plans of it being a sophomore 4 song EP yet. I could see maybe them showing up on a record in a bit, and but maybe I should do another sophomore EP or another EP that would be a sophomore EP. So
Well,
we'll
you
see. I
mentioned
have no idea.
Berklee, music
Hmm.
production and engineering, I think is the end goal. So are you hoping to be able to self-produce or maybe work with other artists behind the scenes in the future?
Yeah, it's so music production is definitely on my list, and then I've also been considering songwriting at Berklee. They've got a great program for both of those. I mean, I think the motivation behind songwriting is pretty obvious, in that I want to write songs, and why not go learn? Um, the production stuff is, I think, being able to self-produce, even if it's just awesome sounding demos, that is just a huge tool to be able to be self-sufficient, and then you can pull in other producers, and you know what you're going for, and you know how to make it sound that way. And it's, oh, I was kind of thinking about this kind of production, and it's not just, oh, make it sound dreamy and this and that, because that's not always the English or the word to use to get a certain sound. And so I think the language that I would learn through music production, and then also just the skills of production, they have a great program. It'd be epic. I think it'd set me up to just produce myself. Maybe I release the stuff I record and master and mix, but I like working with people, so I'd probably keep working with people, but I think it'd be fun to have those skills.
So, circling back to American Idol, you've been gigging and busking for a while now, but this is obviously a whole new level and reach. So, on a scale from 1 to 10, how have your nerves been throughout this competition so far?
Nerves. Yeah, I so walking into the audition, right outside there's all kinds of producers and they're micing you and then they're checking, make sure like you're ready to go and you've got your guitar and it's tuned and there's a lot of things happening. And so I had my suitcase with me. So they wanted to do some B-roll with the suitcase right outside the door to go into the audition. So like, Wyatt, why don't you come and film with us? I'm all mic'd up. Guitar has the pack on it for the PA. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Like, am I going right now, or is this just B-roll? I need to know for my mental preparedness. They're like, no, you're not going right now. We're just gonna film this B-roll. So I go up and I'm standing by the door, and then I can't remember what happened. I think a girl that had just auditioned walked out, and then they were counting things down, and it felt like a million things happening. But then like, all right, you ready? I'm like, for B-roll? They're like, no, to go. And then they not pushed me. They didn't actually push me, but it felt like I was just being pushed into the room. Uh, and so it hit me. I think my mom was probably looking and then, oh boy, there he goes. Um, and so I walked in kind of, oh no, all right, this is happening now. Thanks for the warning. And so I walked in and it's, I think, turning. So it was a pretty big room. So you kind of walked down this hallway and then you saw them. Um, and so walking down the hallway, heart beating like crazy, just what's about to happen. And then when I saw them, I think the nerves kind of fell down a little bit and it felt okay because it like Luke's like, what's up? Like, how are you? What's your name? Um, but so I feel like I had a good discussion with them and wasn't too nervous about that. But I think when I sang, I got a little bit more nervous. And I think doing that song, maybe I should have done it up a little bit higher. It felt a little funny in my range that day. Um, but I mean, I did my thing and feel like it went well, but I was definitely crazy nervous. And a piece of my audition that didn't make the cut is like Katie told me, like, slow down, just take some breaths, like go back to your mark. Cause I would like wandered off and not wandered, but like I'd moved. And like just take a minute to reset and sit in this space and that was in addition to the pottery comment. um and so I was definitely crazy nervous in that, but Katie's insight on slowing down and set yourself up to be in that space and do better and just feel at home, I definitely took that with me to Hollywood. And just I think the first performance I did of Stay, I walked out there and they gave me the green light or whatever it was, and I took a second. You take a deep breath. They're going to cut this out on TV because it's 2 seconds that makes the episode longer or whatever it is. But I got a second to go. Okay, we're going to do this. It's going to be great. Um, and so I've been trying to reset. I think it's most obvious with Cassandra before our duet, and that was something that I was kind of sharing with her. Is like Katie gave me this great advice about just resetting, and then Katie actually came into our duet practice and she gave us that same advice, of some deep breaths. And so I've been very intentional about setting myself up and resetting on stage. And then I think Cassandra has been too. So we actually did that really well together on stage, just being able to, okay, let's do this. But so they've been good for the last few weeks as far as TV goes. And then I think there's a little bit of nerves always and what's next. But at the same time, I already feel like I have won the lottery being here. I mean, I auditioned hoping to get through, and I went to Hollywood hoping to get through, but I had no idea what was going to happen. And so to be here now is awesome, and I just feel stoked. So regardless of how things go, I'm a little nervous, but not so nervous that it's making it any less fun.
So you talked about Cassandra, who you performed with for the duets round. One of my personal favorite duets. I'm not sure if
Thank
you
you.
have been reading the online comments. A lot of people are saying you need to team up and perform more as a duo. What do you have to say to that?
I I had a great time performing with Cassandra. I think she's really special vocally and musically, and just she's awesome. Um, And so, I mean, I'd be open to that depending on what happens. And who knows if we're doing solo things or duos. I'd love to sing with her. Like just being on stage with her, she, we all know that she commands that. Sorry, there's some sirens going by.
That's so
But we all know that she is epic when she goes on stage and her voice fills that whole room and all that. And so just being in that, being on stage with her, it's great. And so, yeah, I'd love to do some duet stuff and we'll see if that works or if it doesn't, but I'm happy to sing with Cassandra. So
yeah, I think she was saying like you'll definitely be collaborating down the road, hopefully doing a cover or maybe, helping each other songwrite. But just tell me about
right.
the friendships that you have made so far in this journey.
Totally. Yeah, I think we're all learning right now that the way that the episodes stitched together for TV makes it seem like some people are grouped up and maybe those are the friend groups. And not that there's like designated friend groups here, but I think you expect people to be friends with certain people based on what happens on the show. But a lot of the show is okay, we need you two here because we're doing this and then we're doing this. And so I've found that actually the people that I have the least screen time, if any at all, with have been like awesome. And I've spent a bunch of time with them. And not that the others aren't awesome. Everybody here is awesome. But it's interesting kind of the friendships behind the TV and then the way that kind of makes its way on the screen, but doesn't totally. And I mean, as far as just friendships in general, it's been awesome. Like we're all in this crazy experience and understand it and what everyone else is going through because there's good and there's bad and there's stress and there's joy and like there's so many emotions through this that I think having this group of 24 of us that all get it and can relate, it's awesome. And so it's a really special friendship with each and every person here.
It's nice to have that support system and like you all are rooting for one another. So I like to see it come together. I know it was it Graham posted a selfie the other day of like five of you and Hunter. It looked like he was photoshopped in. Like those are memories that you'll have with you for a long time.
Totally. Yeah, it's been fun and we've been here for a little while and we kind of had to keep it under wraps. Hopefully I'm not breaking all my rules here, but um we've been here so we had to hide that we're all together for a little bit, but now those photos can surface because the top 24 has been announced and that's super fun. So that we get to share those friendships with people. So
Let's talk Bits of Tunes, which is a really fun segment that you do. Where did this idea come from?
uh so this whole bits of tunes thing has blown into something that I would have laughed at the idea of. I love it. I'm having a ball that people like it. It was a Thursday, so the Thursday thing is just because it happened to be a Thursday. I think I was just hanging out in my apartment, like, okay, I need to be better about posting on Instagram. And for whatever reason, the idea of bits of tunes popped in. Like maybe I could do like hey, here's a bit of a tune. I'm gonna say hi and then play a song. And then I don't know what the deal is with the foreground as far as why that happened. Everyone's like, "What is this?" And I have no idea. So I think I grabbed batteries and a mug. I
Oh,
think
it's
I can't
getting
remember.
more and more
And the elephant.
random, like hotel
Yeah,
irons and phones off their hooks. Like you couldn't find more
yeah.
portable items.
Well, I'm in this hotel right now and I'm running out of things, but I don't know. It's a random like it's like easy on my soul because I just get to do it and it's really fun. Whereas sometimes there's more stressful posts about like, okay, I got to post 3 times today about Idol, and that's great, and I love doing that. But this one's like, okay, I get to do bits of tunes. All right, what can I use? All right, we got a hotel iron, great.
It's gonna be the
And
picture
so
behind you next week.
yeah, it's actually right over there. I should have sat in front of it, but no, it was meant to be fun and casual and a little bit of like a weird joke or whatever. I think the music part of it's serious, but I also like I don't want to make my Instagram just like look at me. And so I think the having that kind of fun, engaging, and just hi, this is really weird content is fun. So I'm enjoying doing that and loving that people are liking it because I was expecting like okay, it's gonna last 3 weeks. People are gonna get so sick of it.
Well, I think it is a nice look into, what you've been working on, and then I think nowadays as a millennial artist to be active on places like Instagram and TikTok's really mandatory. Tell me about the community support that you've been receiving from Park City, Utah.
Totally. Yeah, it's tough being away right now because I know that everyone that I know is so happy for me, and people that I don't are happy for me. And so I'd love to be there to say thank you and say hi to everybody. Um, but as far as like looking online and that kind of thing, like I'm my personal Facebook keeps getting tagged and things from like people that I haven't seen in a while, or they've moved, and or they're doing their own thing, and a bunch of my parents' friends too, and there's kind of people in my orbit that I don't totally know are posting like, "Hey, check out Wyatt, he's doing this." Like we're all really stoked for him, and so that has just been incredible to see all that surfacing, and the support and love is amazing. Park City's always been somewhere that, for me at least, as a musician, kid, and artist, and all those things, I've had a lot of great opportunities because people say yes. And so playing at restaurants, like I called the restaurant, like, "Hey, can I play for free? Maybe you give me dinner." And it's like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." And I played there for 5 years. And like those kind of things happening for me have really helped. And so that all of Park City feels like this awesome trampoline that maybe I get to bounce off because they're so supportive. So I'm loving it. I wish I was there to give virtual hugs and that kind of thing, but soon enough. So
You've also been asked to perform virtually before a city council meeting, which is kind of cool.
yeah, that was a curious one. I didn't totally get what was happening until I showed up, but it made sense after. Um, but so I worked for Mountain Town Music, which is a nonprofit that puts on a bunch of concerts back home, and I was working for them, and so I know Brian, the guy in charge, really well. And so he reached out and he's like, "Hey, got this interesting gig at City Hall. I don't know how it's going to work, but it's going to be fun." Um, and so I went over and chatted with some of the people there. They're like, "Okay, I think we're going to zoom you in. They're going to be in their chambers and doing this and that." I'm like, "Cool, sounds good. Like, I'll show up with a guitar." And so I went, and I think it was at the start of their session or something, because it streamed to Facebook Live for residents to watch. I played a song, and it was super fun and totally random, but I had a blast, and it was fun to make some of those connections with like the mayor and some people on city council, and that kind of thing. So totally random, but super fun.
And if all works out for you with American Idol, you'll be able to pay off that loan to your mom for that acoustic guitar in no
I
time.
Yeah, I've actually already paid that off. So
Everything
um
here on out is a profit for you then. That's even better.
yeah, no, I paid that off a while ago. It was when I was doing that record, I had saved all my pennies to play this record,
So
and
you actually
I
didn't
have
need to take out the loan, did you?
well, no, I did. I was spending all my money on making the record.
Okay.
And so I didn't really have money to buy a new guitar. I had a guitar that I'd been playing for years, and it's one that I will never get rid of ever. Um, but like just sound wise, like bought it when I was 12. It's seen a lot of life. Doesn't sound as great as maybe it used to. And so I did want to upgrade my guitar and just get a long haul guitar. Um, and so my mom gave me a loan to help me buy that guitar, and then I paid her back in a couple months. So.
Awesome. And I have one last question for you, our signature question. If you could be any ice cream flavor, which would you be and why?
Ooh, there's one I really like called Espresso Madness that is coffee flavored, but it's almost like feels like a smoother coffee flavor with less bite than maybe some other coffee ice creams. And then it's got these little chunks of chocolate, but it's an espresso chocolate. So you get coffee ice cream, but then you get chocolate, but then the chocolate aftertaste is espresso bean. And so I love that. I will eat an entire tub of that in about 3 minutes. Not that fast, but pretty fast. And then, so I think I'm that espresso madness for the reason that I really like it. And also that if I have far too much espresso in the morning, I am a little mad for the day. Not mad, angry, a little crazy for the day. So
That's a
Espresso
good
Madness.
answer.
That's me.
And on that note, we'll end things off. Thank you for taking the time to chat.
Awesome.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chloe. Nice to meet you.
You too, make sure to purchase and stream Diana and catch Wyatt on American Idol this Sunday on ABC. New episodes also air on Mondays, and we will see you next time.